So now take the bicep opacity down a bit and we'll do some work on the body. We'll hit P for pen. Make sure your brush is set to be sort of similar to this. Actually, you know what? Instead, let's use a fill because this is sort of tapered here. So let's hide this for a second. We're going to want this to extend down to here. And I have a hotkey A for anchor. And once you got it fairly close, just hit fill path. We'll use the foreground color, it's already set to black, except we're doing it on the wrong layer, so Control Z, click on your copy of the body, and fill path. And delete path. Looks good. I should have pushed this out a bit more. Okay, and to rename this body, let's fill this in. So this should actually blend up on the back here. Something kind of like that. Merge this back down. Hotkey S for smudge. You may have to go into your preferences to set up those hotkeys or options or whatever it is in your program. Most of this is going to be hidden, so I'm not too worried about it being perfect. That should work for that part. Set the opacity back to normal. Let's do a quick test here. And we could have had it start a little further out too, or even right here, and just have this sort of bend right here. When we go to animate it, I'll just use the distortion capability to make sure that this part here sticks to where it should be. Actually, you know what? When this goes down like this, how's that going to look? So let's just make this edge a little more transparent. Let's pick a soft brush, far less opacity because we don't want to erase too much. And sometimes you might have to play around with it. After you've done a few characters, you kind of get the hang of what works and what doesn't. That's probably pretty close right there to where we'd want it to rotate. Let's just quickly add in the neck here while we're here. Let's grab this here, copy, paste, put it underneath, pull it up. We want it to be something like that. So if the head turns, this black line should kind of bend inward. It's kind of a mess there. Let's try that again. Something like that. Grab the paintbrush. Let's try to touch this up a bit. And this can pretty much all just be filled with that color. And let's put that layer back on top. We'll merge the two together. And hit S for smudge. And just kind of get rid of this line, this crease that's showing up. Get the colors to mix together better. Okay, could even grab this and kind of do a faded upward thing, in case the head really bends forward at some point. Same thing for if it bends back quite a bit for some reason. So that way when the head rotates back and you got this sort of angle, still have sort of a neck there. Same with when it bends forward. Now we'll grab the poly lasso tool and lasso around this. I'm just going to go reselect because I already did that. Copy and paste it onto its own layer. Call it right arm for now. Duplicate that layer and we'll save right arm as a backup to work from. And I guess we'll fill this in. Let's grab the paint tool here, use a soft brush, give it some transparency. So we're just kind of finishing the arm as it goes under the character, a little less transparent. Let's hit reselect here so we don't go outside the lines. And we'll just use smudge and finish this off rather quickly. And select inverse and erase where we painted outside the line. Select inverse again. We'll just extend this black line so that if the arm comes out from behind it, if it's rotating, it won't have a gap in it. Let's deselect here, do another layer. And I'll just use pen. Make sure we have a proper brush selected here. Solid and opacity 100%. Correct size. We'll go to layer 17. Put it above it for now. Stroke the path. Delete the path. And we'll just smoothen this out a bit. Go back to smudge and kind of push this in behind it. We can use burn tool. Merge down, so we get our backup right arm and our right arm copy. Now, we really only want from there to there, so we're just trying to get the bicep section. So approximately somewhere around here I would expect it to bend. Let's use the transform selection. Probably a little further down the arm, because it actually bends right here and here. Now you can select inverse, and we already have a copy of the arm, so we don't have to worry about losing it. And hit delete. So this will be behind the other layer. So let's have some of this black curdle down into this gradually. Grab right here with a pen, quite gradually. Now I guess we'll have to give this brush a little more girth. Try 9. That looks alright. And delete the path. Hit reselect. in transform selection. If we reselect though, we're in inverse, so we got to go select inverse again. Then we can go select transform selection. Just pull this out so that the selection actually goes under the black line. Just make it a bit easier to color inside the lines. Now we'll duplicate this layer, and this layer is on top, keep in mind, so it doesn't actually matter that I'm going right up to the black line here. Then I'll just grab this layer, put it underneath, and that looks alright. Okay, so I locked the bicep layer so I don't accidentally draw on it. So grab this forearm layer and the polygon selection tool, and we'll grab the hand. And then using the pen tool, I'll just curve out this path here, and then we'll add to selection, and Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V, paste it in place. And then we'll remove that part from the forearm. So hide the extra hand layer, go to the forearm. In fact, if you want, you can lock it too. And we'll go to the forearm, and we'll drag out a selection that's something like this. Okay, and then we'll refine that selection. Go back to polygon. I'll add this back in. So I'm just trying to figure out kind of what we need to get rid of and create kind of a stump here. I'll start by deleting that. Deselect. Just kind of polygon select this. Just click more times if you want it to be smoother. Alright, and we want this to sort of seamlessly blend out underneath from where the hand would have been. With smudge, we can kind of do that pretty easily. I'm just going to use erase here. And actually, let's use the black pen here. So if the hand rotates, it'll look a lot better if that black line kind of goes underneath. Delete path. Let's just touch this up a bit. Okay, now we'll work on the hand. Hide the bicep. We can rename this hand, or right hand. Actually, and we can rename this right bicep. Okay, with just the right hand visible. Just going to pull this out a bit. Okay, and using your eraser with the opacity turned down, we can kind of add some transparency to the edge of this, not too much. That way it doesn't look strange when the hand starts to rotate. And you'd only notice that if you're zoomed right up. So let's test out hand rotation. I would say on the bottom though, we could push this part of the wrist a little sooner. So we'll just go to right forearm, hide the right hand, and grab this stuff here. Okay, we'll use liquify. Using liquify, we'll go in here and just kind of push this up a bit, the corner, so it's not as sharp. Okay, and try rotating it. Looks okay. Alright, and we can unhide all these parts. Let's see what we got so far. First of all, I organized this so that these are in folders for head setup, left arm setup, body, and then the right arm setup underneath. And as you can see, I can just hide folders now. So now we can just concentrate on the legs. We'll hide the body copy for now. We'll just show the full character copy. And we'll begin by making the part that would go in behind here for what would be his right leg. We'll call it the left leg. So turn the visibility of the body copy on. Turn the opacity of the full character copy down to 70% so we can kind of see what we're doing. And we want to create something that kind of goes up in behind here. So I'll use the pen tool so that I get a nice curved selection. Actually, 96% opacity, we can still see where the division is between the leg and the body. So using pen, okay, once you're happy with a path selection, you just make it into a selection and copy it off the full character copy. Go to the body layer, hide the full character copy. Actually, no, hide the body layer. Start a new layer, call it left leg, and let's add the rest of that leg into that selection. Using the pen tool, make selection, add to selection, and I'll just trim this part off here. Make selection, subtract from selection. Oops, I missed part of it. Let's use polyselect, subtract, turn the opacity back up, Control C, go to the left leg layer, and paste in place. For the body, we'll turn down the opacity so we can see where the leg should go in behind. Let's just select out here, select inverse. I just hit my S hotkey for smudge. So you notice when I do this, it is actually going underneath. Paintbrush. Now let's see where this body goes in front of it. When the leg is turned, it'll look the way it's supposed to. To test that, I'm going to duplicate the layer for the leg and turn that layer where it would rotate around the hip. Deselect. When we're animating this, we want these two to distort so that they come towards each other in the middle, and then you don't have to worry about this black line. Otherwise, what we'll do is edit the body a bit, maybe have this curve in sooner. So yeah, we'll go back to the leg. Let's have it come in a little sooner here. Apply, and go to the body copy. Use erase, we'll say 20% opacity, and just kind of fade this out a bit so that it all kind of blends together. And then we'll see what we did there. Looks good. Show the left leg, it's rotated, and we'll match this up with the other left leg. Not sure where I had the pivot there. So we'll just have to approximate. And once it's rotated back, you can just use the warping tool to get it to match up again. So once you got a pretty close match, we can just go like this to make sure it's going to work. Yeah, it should. Turn the opacity back up on both layers. We'll go back to the body copy here, because this could always bend forward too, so we need this to kind of go in more. So let's grab this stuff. See, a lot of this is where your distortions should be used instead of doing it this way. Part of the only reason I'm showing doing it this way is because if you're using like just pure SDL or something and you can't use the distortions because you have performance reasons, then at least you'd know how to do it this way. Okay, let's grab that leg. Rotating forward looks fine, rotating back will look fine with the distortion, and also it's not quite pivoting in the right spot. There we go. If you're changing the direction that the character is facing or whatever, parts can be swapped in and out for that. Normally, I think for a character like this, I would make these parts of the legs their own piece. But since this is a more advanced tutorial, I think I will break it up into two different parts. That way you could use part swap, for example, to give him footwear of some kind, maybe some rocket boots or something. And you got a little bit more control over the tilt of the foot and the toes. So we'll make it into two pieces. This part will go in behind. Just going to grab the pen tool to refine the selection. Make selection, add to selection, Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V, hide the full character layer, hide our leg copy. Pick a solid black brush to stroke with, not that thick. And I'm going to hit S for smudge, continue this up into here. Let's see where that other leg overlaps, so we can fill this all in. Let's go on a layer under it. Or no, wait, we should have put the ink on a different layer. Oh well, this will be okay. Now show and select the left leg copy. We'll deselect this region here. Make sure you're on the left leg copy and use the eraser with a low opacity, maybe around 21, maybe a little higher. And then just show that layer to see what's going on here. That should work okay. We may have taken a little bit too much color out of this part, so I'll just paint some of that back in. Okay, good. So I renamed these two pieces, left thigh and left calf. I'm going to hide the thigh for now. We'll just go with the foot. Guess we could have the foot kind of start somewhere in the middle here. Maybe a little further down here. Make selection, copy this off of here, paste in place, left foot. Okay, and that'll go in front of the calf. So we'll give it a little bit of transparency so it kind of blends the way you'd expect. And then we'll develop the calf goes underneath, duplicate the foot layer. I'll adjust that layer, maybe I'll change the hue, and then that way I can kind of see where it is. I'll turn down the opacity, and then I'll go back down to calf. I'll use the pen selection tool again, and we'll want it to continue from here to around here, and then a hotkey for anchor, let out. Make that a selection. We can hide the foot stuff, select inverse, delete, select inverse again, I'm going to use a pen tool here, drawing from here to here, right up to here. We'll let the line get squished against the edge. Make sure you're using the solid black brush, full opacity. Hit the pen tool again, stroke the path, delete the path. Then we can delete the selection. Alright, let's show that left foot. Okay, so these black lines need to be a little more solid in here. We'll make it curve out more gradually too. And let's see how that looks. This part won't ever really rotate much, just a little extra motion. Need a little more transparency on the foot layer. It seems to be okay on the front part. The back part needs more color. I'm just going to use the smudge tool. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect. Okay, that should be good. Okay, I'm going to hit P for pen. We'll say the foot's heel is about here. We'll have this layer go over top. Make selection, copy, Control-Shift-V, paste in place. I'll just call it foot for now. And I'll call this layer calf. And I'll duplicate the layer for the foot, adjust the hue a little bit in the copy, bring down the opacity a bit, and go to the calf layer. And we'll use the pen tool again. Make selection. First, let's add an anchor point, pull it out. Make selection, copy from the calf, paste in place. We'll call this right calf, change this to right foot. And using the pen tool with a black solid brush, make sure you have right calf selected. Get about the right size. Stroke the path. Okay. Now we'll go to right foot. And we'll see how it looks first of all when we rotate. It should be around here. Up here. Yeah, up there. Okay, use the eraser. So I'm just going to rotate it to -16 here, and then I can rotate it back to 0 after. And I'll just do some erasing. Need a little more opacity with the eraser. And a little smudging. Okay, so I just matched it up with the old image underneath of it. And let's see how that works. About there. It's a little better. Obviously distortion will be used to correct that. Okay. Okay, so if we put the pivot a little closer to the corner here, it looks a little bit better when you move it. Alright, and we'll set up a folder called right leg setup and drop those 3 into that folder. And we can turn on all the folders, body, and now we have the completed character in all its different layers. So let's save that. And next we'll get ready to export.